Hey everyone, welcome on to Branded. This is the podcast that takes you behind the scenes and beyond the brand. We have real conversations here, like in real time for the most part, about what I'm doing to run my business, what I'm doing to help my clients run their businesses, the things that I'm finding out along the way that maybe are working really well and some that aren't. Today, we're talking about something that is working really, really well. So I want to share with you how I take one great idea, like one really fucking solid piece of valuable insight, and I turn it into upwards of, 8, 10 pieces of content and marketing for the week. This has 100% changed the way I feel week to week going into my business. This has changed how I show up on social media. This has changed how people engage with my content. This has changed so much of how I approach my business. I feel like I have a little hair. Okay. So how do we take one fantastic concept and turn it into 10 pieces of content or marketing? It's actually a lot easier than you think, but I'm going to go through what I do on a weekly basis. And now this is sometimes on a weekend day, right? Like I can do pretty much all of this on a Saturday if I wanted to. But for the most part, I try to have all of this work done for the upcoming week by Saturday. So that way, come Monday, I already know that almost everything I'm doing for that week when it comes to being on social media, having email marketing, all the things, they're already done. It's already scheduled. It's already created. It's already been put together. So when I go into a new week and Monday morning starts, I don't already feel like I'm behind the buck. I don't feel like I'm in the fucking weeds. I feel like I actually have a full new week where I can create new ideas, have fresh concepts, have new conversations, and not have to be worrying about what I'm going to be doing on Instagram that day. I'm telling you, 3 years ago, I used to sit and like rack my brain about what am I going to post today? What am I going to do? Oh my gosh. I was so sick of it that I almost just stopped using social media because, honestly, I wasn't using it before I started building a business and I just couldn't find that groove. And so I was ready to just give up. I'm so glad that I didn't because what I stumbled upon is it's so easy. And the fact that I do it with intention means that every single week I have somebody reach out to me and say, that podcast was amazing. Oh my gosh, yes, I totally resonate with this post. Every single week, there is at least somebody that is reaching out and saying, like, I needed to hear this. And it's because I'm having conversations about things that are actually happening in my business. I'm having conversations about things that I'm actually learning right here, right now. Like you'll notice some of my content, it flows with the books I'm reading. It flows with the type of client work that I'm doing. It is very much in real time and I am sharing the goods with you guys. So first and foremost, how I get one great idea and I turn it into 10 pieces of content. What I do first is I like to flush this idea out a little bit. And by that, I like to refine it a little bit because let's say I have last week's podcast, right? Last week's podcast, we were talking about, are you really all in, right? Taking 100% responsibility for the actions that you're taking, which lead to the results that you want. So that was sort of the overarching concept. Well, what I'll do first is I like to write my Monday email. Now, my Monday email will always be a sort of subtopic of my Wednesday podcast. These are all the same idea, mind you. I have this one great idea of how are you really all in? And the topic is taking 100% responsibility for your actions and the results that you want. So my Monday email, I'm going to use to kind of like explore that idea a little bit. What are some subcategories of that idea? What are some different perspectives of that idea? How can I sort of flush this out and have a conversation via my email? Now, I'll write that email, and I don't write super, super long emails. It's kind of far and few between that I'll write like a really long email. Usually it gets right to the point. But I will take that email copy that I have just written for my Monday email. I will literally copy and paste it into my social media platforms, and I will schedule post. So the words will be exactly the same. I'll add an image or something of the sort to it that just feels right? Maybe it's a picture of me, maybe it's something in nature, maybe it's something I created in Canva and it's a little more like branded and designed. Whatever feels right for that kind of topic is usually what I'll pick, but I write that email copy once. I will use that email copy for a post on Facebook, a post on Instagram. I will also make that email copy into a multiple slide for my stories. All this is copy and pasting. I wrote it once. I had the idea once. I flesh out the idea by writing that email. I make that email into multiple posts and to stories. I then take that same concept and I record a podcast. Of course, during the podcast, while I'm talking, because I just talk off the cuff, I don't have like a script or anything planned. So I talk about this concept and what I think about it, how I've experienced it, how my clients have experienced it. What are the real life scenarios that I can share with you that might help bring your perspective to, seeing it a new way or help give you that little kick in the ass that you might be looking for, like always something, right? So I record a podcast with that one great idea. Based on that podcast and the way that I sort of navigated the conversation in that podcast, I will then write another email for Wednesday because I only do emails on Mondays and Wednesdays. And that Wednesday email will become the show notes for the podcast. So I write it once and then I copy and paste that very same copy into Spotify, and that becomes the show notes that you see on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. That content that I created has now lived through a Monday email, 2 Monday posts, story slides, now has become a Wednesday email, plus a podcast, plus all the show notes for that podcast, plus story slides. Oh, there's my little thumbs up. Thank you, technology. Plus story slides. So now we're getting close to 10, right? Now, from the podcast that I record, I use StreamYard to pre-record everything because that's how I like to run my business. But there's tools inside of there that allow me to clip what I recorded. So now I'm going to clip 2 reels from that same podcast that I recorded. That's going to be a reel on Wednesday and it's going to be a reel on Friday because I'm going to promote the episode. If I'm having one great idea, chances are if I just talk about it once, not that many people are going to hear it, resonate with it, see it. Something to understand when it comes to smart marketing. People do not see all the things that you create all the time. If you have a really powerful idea or concept, you need to talk about it more than once. Spread it everywhere. Because I guarantee someone may hear the podcast, not see the email, maybe see my story slides, maybe see the reel. Maybe they don't even listen to the whole podcast episode. Maybe they just catch the beginning. And then on Friday, I share a reel to talk about it once more, and it's clipped from the end of the episode, and it piques their interest again, and they go back and listen to the rest of it. Maybe they see the reel, and it piques their interest, and they go follow the show because they don't want to miss next week's episode. Maybe they see the story slides, and they're like, wow, these are telling me really exactly what I'm looking to learn and hear. Oh, and here's a link. I can go ahead and just listen right now. The way I market my business and the way that I create content is like the simplest, absolute simplest way that I've ever been able to achieve it. And I'm telling you right now, it has allowed me to have fun again. And it actually frees me up to be creative because I'm not worrying about all the other bullshit of like, oh my God, I didn't write the email and I have to like, I told myself I would send 2 emails a week. And so you get really stressed about the things that you have tasked yourself with. So instead, the only task that I give myself every week, because all the rest of it has now become part of the process, right? Doing the emails, recording the podcast, clipping the reels, all of that stuff, like that's not necessarily the fun part, but those are all the pieces of the marketing equation that I have decided I want to adhere to. So I do all those things regardless. The only thing that I actually task myself every single week with is what's something I want to talk about this week? What's something that I'm experiencing this week that I know other people are also experiencing? What's a conversation I had with my client this week that I know somebody else could benefit from getting sort of a behind the scenes look on that? So that's the only thing I actually worry about. And when I say worry, it's not even a worry. It's really more of like, all right, so if let's say I'm nearing the end of a work week, if I don't really have much of an idea for what I'm going to do that next week, I pick up a book and I start reading. Or I listen to somebody else's podcast and I allow myself to feel some sort of inspiration. I go outside and I meditate. Like, I'm not a just constantly bubbling well of ideas. Everybody's got their dry spells every so often. The way you stay fluid with those ideas is by consuming like what's around you, seeing the beauty in nature, really tuning into a conversation with somebody, like really listening, not just like, yeah. I mean, I'm guilty of that, right? It's happened sometimes, but really tuning into life. That's how I get these ideas. It's not like I'm some fucking genius. I get these ideas because I pay attention. I pay attention to what's happening with me in my personal life and with my business. I pay attention to what's happening with my clients and how that interaction is evolving and affecting our client relationship, right? Like I pay attention. I listen to life and I allow myself to say, all right, that was fucking cool. I'm going to go ahead and talk about that. And sometimes the idea is like just this tiny little snippet of an idea. And that's where that Monday email comes into play for me, is it really gives me space to like play with the concept and to let it evolve and kind of just sort of morph and expand into something else. And then I'll record the podcast episode because I've already sort of grease the wheels, I guess you could say. And so having those 2 emails a week, plus 1 podcast, plus at least 2 days, if not 3 worth of story slides, 2 posts, Instagram and Facebook, if not happening more than that, 2 reels from that podcast. So we're already at 10 pieces of content and marketing materials from one great concept. So when you're thinking about your social media and when you're thinking about your marketing, strip it down. You do not need to have conversations from A to Z every single week. Week 1, talk about A. Week 2, talk about B. Week 3, talk about C. I know this might feel like it's oversimplified, but I know you also know what I'm talking about when you have a really good idea and something that you're like, whoa, more people need to like hear this. We need to be talking about this more. I need to be talking about this more because it's helping me understand my business even better, right? When you have those sort of aha moments, it kind of sucks when you only post about it once and you get no engagement. Because then you're like, well, shit, I guess maybe somebody, other people didn't care about it as much. I guarantee you, other people just didn't see it. Give them a chance to see it. Give them a chance to experience it, to have the conversation. So have one phenomenal idea and then allow the idea to grow and expand into a concept that can be a conversation for that week. It's a springboard. That idea that you're having is a springboard. So something you could do right now, today, right? You listen to this episode and you're like, okay, how do I do this for myself? What I would do if I was you is I would go back through the last 30, 60 days of my content, whether you posted just like words with like a color background or something, you know how Facebook does that. I don't know what it's called, but whether you just did that and it was either a quote or it was just a thought, right? You just put down some words. Maybe it was a full-blown, long ass post and it's like you just spilling your guts, right? Whatever it is, go back 30 to 60 days. What I would look for first is the vanity metrics. Even though I talk about vanity metrics honestly don't really matter, but when you're going back into the archives and you're trying to determine what worked and what didn't, vanity metrics are helpful in that regard. But also it has a lot to do with how did you feel about that content? You know what I mean? Like if there was something that you got absolutely no engagement on, but you go back to it and it was from, a month or two ago and you still are like, damn, that's fucking good. I need to say that again. Then do so. Say it again. Do it with more intention. Put it everywhere. Make it into story slides. Do some reels about it. Make some posts about it. Explore the concept more, right? So go back, look at the vanity metrics, things that seem to perform well, and repurpose them. Create them again. Dig deeper into the concept, right? Peel back the onion on what it was that you were really talking about. And then do the same thing for the things that you didn't get any engagement on, but you feel really connected to. Because just because you didn't get the vanity metrics doesn't mean it's not worth talking about. And I said this a couple episodes back that there's types of content that start conversations. There's types of content that ground and solidify conversations and help people go like have that light bulb moment of like, oh yeah, me too, right? You have them saying that like, wow, me too. And then there's conversations that help people see themselves in those scenarios, right? That sort of embodiment of they can see themselves actually experiencing the thing that you're talking about. Not all of those pieces of content have good vanity metrics, right? There are some pieces of those content that people maybe won't feel comfortable engaging with, depending on what it is you're talking about, right? And obviously you never want to be calling people out, but when you can call people forward, right, you can sort of give them that tug of like, whoa, me too. I feel that. I need to hear more of this. They may not engage with that kind of content because it's exposing, right? It exposes a part of their personality that maybe they've only just realized they have, or maybe they've always known they've had, but haven't really faced it. You know what I mean? So not all content's going to have the engagement that you want, but definitely if you're hearing this today and saying, okay, I want to do this kind of content. I want to create one great idea and I want to repurpose it into 10 plus pieces of content and marketing, because then all you have to do every single week is have one powerful value-driven concept that you know fills a gap for somebody in your audience. That's it. And then all the rest is just creating the thing that supports the idea. So this is what I've been doing. Okay, let me think. This is August. I have been doing this type of content pretty consistently since probably May, I would say. I don't know. Time is flying. Like it's already fucking August. It's crazy. But probably since about May. And prior to that, I was doing content in a way where it was like, okay, Monday through Friday, these are the things I'm going to post about. And so I was kind of posting about different stuff every single day of the week. And that was fine. That was working for me. But there was still something missing. And I still felt like I was always a little bit behind, a little bit in the weeds, and having to come up with too many things every week. I was talking about too many different things every week. So I decided, like, what is that one piece of content that I love to do the most? I absolutely love it the most. Let me form all my other pieces of content around it. So for me, it's the podcast. Being on Branded, coming on here with a brand new episode every single week, I fucking love it. I love having these conversations. I love the response that I get from people because it's so real. It's not vanity metrics. It creates real conversations with people. So I love to do this work. And so knowing that, identifying that the podcast is the core of the work that I want to do, I built everything else around that. All of my content and all of my marketing is to support that idea that I'm going to bring to my podcast every week. So maybe it's not a podcast for you. Maybe it's a live. Maybe it's a reel that you want to put together. Maybe it's an email. Maybe it's one powerful post every week. And then around that post, you sort of present alternative perspectives. And maybe you're only making posts and you're not doing emails or any of that. That's okay too. You can still achieve the same kind of result that I'm talking about, but identify for you, what's that sort of core piece of material that you love to do the most? And then build everything else around that so it can help support that idea and really broadcast it out to people. So that way, instead of like maybe a couple people seeing it, people are seeing it because you're putting it in various places. Some people love watching stories. Some people don't watch stories at all. Some people love scrolling their feed. Some people never scroll their feed. So when you put this content out there, understand what feels like overkill for you is probably just the right amount, maybe even not enough sometimes. We are inundated with information. It's okay to say and stand behind things that you give a shit about. And if someone's sick of it and they don't want to hear it, they don't have to be there. So keep showing up and talking about the things that matter to you. And give yourself the space to really dig into that topic every single week. So that way you can, for one, you can learn more about it. You can solidify your confidence and your belief and everything in it. You can ensure that you are spreading that message to the absolute best of your ability, because you didn't just put it out there once. You put it out there 10 times. Someone is going to see it, and someone is going to be impacted positively because of it. So take your fantastic ideas and turn them into multiple pieces of content. Good marketing stands behind its messaging and is not afraid to say it more than once. So have good marketing. If you want more help with this, feel free to book a free call. I'd be happy to talk through things with you. It really is very clarifying to be able to have conversations with sort of an unbiased person where you can say, hey, this is sort of what I'm doing. This is where I'm going with my business. This is what I want to achieve. And sometimes it's nice to have that outside perspective that's looking into the thing that you're trying to create and saying, well, actually, this is what I see happening. Because it gives you a lot of clarity on why something might be working or not working, right? So you can always book a call at socialjanemedia.com. And until next week, I'll see you guys later. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to Branded, the podcast. Please rate and review. And for more information, visit socialjanemedia.com. I'll see you soon.